Definitely friendly.
All right, we are live on Facebook. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first day of the week of the Weiner Wellness Center Fall Fiesta. We were live all day on Saturday, so I hope you tuned in. If not, you're able to go back and watch all the videos that we were live on. We had Dr. Orbach speaking with Jamie and Tracy to kick off just the morning commentary there. We had Dr. Honigman speak, so great, so thorough. We had Judy Mikovits on. She was our guest speaker. She was our special guest. Everyone was so excited for her. That video has thousands of views already. So if you missed it, make sure you go back and get onto there. And then Dr. Orbach spoke chiropractic, rehab, neurology, lots of new information. You know, he speaks on this topic a lot. It's what he practices, but I learned a lot of new things during this presentation as always. So good to go revisit that. And then I was able to speak on a topic that I think is really important, probiotics and foundation. So that's all available there. But today we have our first roundtable here. We have Dr. Gideon Orbach and Joe Messino on here with myself. So Nutritional Frontiers and the Weiner Wellness Center are teaming up to do these roundtables 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we're kicking it off today. And as I'm here scrambling for the official title, Dr. Orbach is like, we're just going to talk organically. We're just going to go with it. So that's what we're going to get today. So good morning, guys. Welcome.
Good morning. It's kind of like almost a recap of the kickoff this morning, huh, Doc?
Yeah, I thought we had a good time and we rolled with it pretty well. So let's roll with it now, right?
Yeah, because this is a great topic, inflammation, and I think for the purposes of this, we're primarily focusing on systemic inflammation, right? Not necessarily injury inflammation. And Doc, you see all kinds of inflammatory responses down there in the people that you work with, but I'm more interested to see what your take is on the effect of systemic inflammation on the structure of the body in general. And have you, do you see, some people do they come in and they don't seem to have anything physically, but they're so obstructed? How much of that do you think is actually due to systemic inflammation that they don't even know they have?
That's a great conversation thread. When we think about systemic inflammation, think about, well, now your body has to fight. Somehow, some way, something triggered the immune system to start cranking out all that inflammation. And Candace, I apologize. I haven't had a chance to listen to your lecture yet. I was just telling Tracy this morning that I have my things to do list every day and a lot on my plate, but I'm anxious to see what you had to say for yourself about the digestive tract and the probiotics. But I think we can all agree that when somebody has systemic inflammation, their digestive tract is involved in a big way. And then we start talking about all the events that occur in the digestive tract, the immune system activity. Now we're in a position where we're probably not absorbing all of our nutrients, and then we're not forming neurotransmitters in the pristine way that we should. So we have a number of systemic events that are comorbidities or cofactors in the context of the systemic inflammation. So when patients get to that state, it's almost like pick an organ, pick a body system. What we really have to do is make a triage list to see what are we going to work on. And I would suggest to you that the place to start is to begin with a detoxification in the digestive tract. But you can go to the bank that those people are going to, at the very least, have tight musculature impacting their joint mechanics. They're going to have cardiovascular problems. They're going to have, once again, pick a physiological system. Everything has to be addressed. So in the interest of efficiency, these are the patients who I would refer to Dr. Honigman or to Jeffrey Nisnik and say, you have to be on a really comprehensive nutritional plan to do your detoxification. And in the meantime, we'll get started with some of the muscular stuff and the structural mechanics. But in terms of a priority checklist, let's do detoxification first.
Well, I think you pretty much summed up what I talked about there.
Right.
Focusing on the gut, that's a lot of, where that systemic inflammation begins and affecting the neurotransmitters, which can cause, lots of issues. Like I tied in brain, mood, all those types of issues, anxiety. And a lot of that stems from, leaky gut or the issues that we get from having our microbiome thrown off. And looking at systemic inflammation, it can be caused by, or it can be, looking at the root cause from changing our diets, eating more real foods rather than packaged, processed things like that are full of sugar and inflammatory foods. We want to be on an anti-inflammatory diet, more Mediterranean style, and look at things that are going to be cooling to the body. Fish oils, that's anti-inflammatory, making sure you're taking those every day. Tying it into your diet, your lifestyle as best as you can, and then supplementing when needed. So kind of sums up what I talked about, but we're looking at it a different way now, looking at inflammation, and it's one of the top things that we see.
This is a great segue into the types of inflammation too, because inflammation due to an injury is natural. It's the body's natural defense mechanism. Systemic inflammation is not natural because it has a causative agent that is outside of our body. And most of the time, those are toxins. And you started to go through them. I just happen to have a list here of some of these chemical toxins. And I would challenge anybody to tell me that they're not affected by one of these products, one of these, let's just say, chemicals. I mean, it goes down the list: fluoride, chloride, bromide, chemotherapy, food preservatives, food additives, anything artificial in your food, drugs that are prescribed, drugs that are not prescribed, cleaning agents, household, kitchen, clothes, cosmetics, anything you put on your body. So how could anybody that's living that we know of today out there say, well, no, none of those are in my life? It's almost impossible. And, for years I used to say, I fought the battle against cholesterol, right? Calling it the greatest medical myth of all time. And, cholesterol does not cause heart disease. But guess what elevated cholesterol is? It's a systemic response to inflammation, to an inflammatory agent in the body. So it is all part of that. And I think, like you said, Candace, your diet, leaky gut, all of these things. But what are we doing and what are we exposing ourselves to on a daily basis? Our ancestors never, ever did. And our body is rebound or is actually revolting against that onslaught.
You know what? I terribly missed this summer watching sports on TV. I mean, I'm a sports fan. What can I tell you? So I became more of a Discovery Channel, History Channel kind of guy. And I saw this snippet. I think it was on Discovery or Travel or whatever it was. It was on this Aboriginal tribe, these indigenous people who they were literally like the last population to be discovered. And they had this beautiful life. They lived in this little fishing village and everybody was lean and athletic, and they ate the plants that they grew in their little plots of land, and they fished and they found ways to entertain themselves and had a real sense of community. And so I'm watching this show about them, and all I could think to myself was, that's a real shame. They're about to go downhill now. And so we're going to introduce all sorts of the chemicals that made your list to new populations around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all subject to at least some of. I challenge you to come up with everybody at least one, man. Everybody probably at least half a dozen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, toxins, which we've been saying for a long time, one of the two major causes of disease, toxicity and deficiency. Now, those were all physical toxins I mentioned before. But what about the invisible ones? Okay, you got X-rays, you got radiation treatments, you got electromagnetic field radiation that we're exposed to it right now while we're doing this Zoom on our mobile device.
That's right.
So It's out there, folks. It's out there. Now, like we always do, right? The causes are there. Everybody has to accept the fact the causes are there. What do we do about it? That's where we always make the difference. We come up with solutions, right? So Doc, as you know, I've done a workshop, and I'm going to do one this week called, the two foundations of optimal health. One is chiropractic. The other is taking care of the endocannabinoid system. So that being said, one of the foundations to alleviate some of the effect of the toxicity while they're trying to eliminate the causes, if they're listening to Dr. Hahnemann or to Jeff, is the treatment that you do. And I think that can't be said enough, that everybody needs regular chiropractic treatment to make sure the structure of their body is sound, to ensure that the central nervous system is working at an optimal level, or else nothing else matters. So there you go, Doc.
I think that's a great plug, and I appreciate you saying that.
You're welcome.
But let's qualify or maybe quantify what regular means. That
right.
This profession has a bad stigma because we literally capture people off the streets and drag them into treatments 3 times a week until they become addicted somehow, some way, and then we don't have to worry because they're addicted. Now, nothing could be further from the case. That there's no such thing as an addiction to chiropractic care. I mean, maybe you really like my sense of humor and you want to come back more often to hear what I have to say for myself. That's the closest thing to an addiction we have at the office. So what I advocate for my patients is I see almost all of my new patients come in because they have aches or pains or some sort of physical discomfort. And we probably see them a little more frequently than our standard patient profile, that even those people aren't 2 and 3 time a week visits. And what we want to do is we want to start with people with like this kind of a vision where we're just focusing locally on their complaint area, and then just start broadening out to the point where they're at least being checked over their spine and their extremities almost head to toe for everybody. It doesn't mean they're being treated head to toe. It means they're being checked. And we want to figure out through a little bit of trial and error that what works for you. If you came in to see me once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a quarter, there's no black and white absolute answer. We'll figure out patient by patient. So regular chiropractic care, if you're listening into this and you're, oh my God, regular chiropractic care, I really do have to go 3 times a week for the rest of my life. No, I think the magic number is about 10 times a year. And for some people, depending on their condition, maybe just a little bit more frequently, 12 to 15. For some people who just, maybe they use their foam roller a little bit more than the next guy, or they're a little more active with their help me with this word, endocannabinoid system.
Cannabinoid system, yeah.
Maybe we're at 6 to 8 visits a year, but in that ballpark.
He's talking about me, Candace.
Yep.
But we're in that ballpark of just, I feel okay and I want to feel good. Coming in to be adjusted now would be a good time. That's what we mean by regular chiropractic care. And we don't really want to look at this as your skeleton is out of place or your back went out, so much as we're tuning up the connections between your skeleton and your brain.
Yeah, and it's not a punishment or anything to have to go to the chiropractor. It's, I look at it as the special treatment, just like, people go get their nails done or something, going to the chiropractor is something that you get to treat yourself to, or like going to the spa, or, special spin class at the gym. It's something that you don't do every day that really helps kind of set you back into your foundations and get you in a good spot where you need to be for other things to work properly. Or I shop at Aldi or Trader Joe's. It's like when I get to go to Costco and buy things in bulk, and that's something unique like that you can stock up on some healthy things where you're kind of getting a reset that you don't have to do daily. There's different stretches. Like Joe, you talked about your morning routine this morning. I was listening to your morning commentary on my way into the office, and you stretch, you use your foam roller. That's not something that you go to see Dr. Orbach every morning for, but he made a recommendation, and that's something that you can do at home. And I know you mentioned before, like you said, what's the first thing a dog does when they first wake up, whether it's in the morning or from a nap? They stretch. And,
Right.
that's what we need to do without, thinking about, oh, I got to switch the laundry or do that, when we wake up. It's those foundation things that we need to do without even thinking about it. Drinking a full glass of water as soon as we wake up to get your day started, and instead of just running out the door, chugging coffee. So these are some of the things that we can do to help get our foundations optimal and have some of these good, healthy habits that can affect many areas in our life as a positive side effect of just our normal routine. And you guys brought up too endocannabinoid system, and that leads us into the discussion of CBD, which is one of the best anti-inflammatories. And Joe, you always refer to it as the 91st essential nutrient, and that's one of the reasons why I take it, especially because I don't struggle with anxiety every day. Some days are different than others, but I don't have any mood issues, anything like that, or chronic inflammation or pain. Maybe I will if I I'm running around and fall playing with the dogs, or go to the gym a little bit too hard, something like that, where I have an injury where inflammation is a good natural response. But I take it as an essential nutrient, but it really comes into play in these people's lives who have that chronic inflammation, and it can help with so many different things because we have an endocannabinoid system and we have receptor sites all over our body for it. So what it does is it goes into those areas and diminishes inflammation. It's not like taking a quick fix over-the-counter drug, Advil, Tylenol, anything like that, NSAIDs that can cause more damage than good, and only last for a few hours. Is that you can take the CBD and it will actually go to those receptor sites and diminish inflammation and get rid of it.
Yeah, and when Judy mentioned it on Saturday, I was like jumping up and down, screaming from the roof.
I thought
because,
of you when she mentioned it.
Oh man, she brought it up under the context. And I don't want to be a spoiler alert for you, Doc, because I know you're going to watch it.
I'm going to watch it no matter what.
Okay, but she said that she was talking about our body's natural immune responses and our natural production of interferon. And she said one of the things that feeds that more than anything else is cannabinoids. And we made a point to ask her, are you talking about medical marijuana? Are you talking about natural CBD? And she said, oh, you just need the natural because the medical is, toxic. Yeah, this goes through too much, and most of it's an isolate. She mentioned the entourage effect. She mentioned all of that, but it's critical. It's critical in having your body produce its own natural interferon, which is, what your immune system needs to fight off whether the infection was injected or not. Like that one, another one of her great phrases. It was, we have an infection via injection going on right now. But that aside, she really, showed the importance. And what I've always said is, why are we so sick? Well, because we've been deprived of this nutrient for generations, not just a few years, generations since the 1930s. And we've gotten sicker every decade since then. So there's got to be a connection to that. Now, let me, Doc, this is an area of that you talk about a lot, is mental and emotional effect on the body. So that's another form of stress that can cause inflammation, is emotional stress. Now,
I'm sorry, go on.
No,
right, well,
I'm leading you in. Go ahead.
Well, by definition, pain is an emotion. So why do different people have different pain tolerances? Why are some people...
that one? I'm stealing that one.
You know what? You're not stealing it from me. That's just, I wish I were talented enough to make this up. I really do. This comes from international conferences on pain. Pain is an individual, emotional, subjective response to a noxious stimuli. That's what it is. So, some people they like their noxious stimuli, and that pleasure pain mood barrier is in a lot of gray area. Some people get a little noxious stimuli and they're screaming bloody murder. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's what it is. Why are some people in a good mood when it rains and other people are depressed when it rains? Same answer. So anyhow, as long as we're looking at pain as an emotion, from my perspective as a hands-on neuromusculoskeletal chiropractor, I'm looking at what kind of manipulations can we make to muscles and to joints to restore ranges of motion, to increase vibration? And all of that is triggering receptor pools that fire into the sensory areas of the brain in order to change the neuro experience. We're going to change people's moods by changing their neurochemistry. So another tool is using the CBD oil. Another tool is going to be using like a low, I don't know if low potency is really the right word. Let's say a low dosage. Take a low dosage of turmeric every day as part of your routine. It's pretty good anti-inflammatory. Why not take a small handful of it or a few tablets every day? Just suppress a little bit of the inflammation. By extrapolation, once we get rid of some levels of inflammation, we're decreasing pain, we're improving people's moods. It's all an in your head neurological experience. So what we're trying to do is influence how are the brain and the body talking to one another? How is the body talking to the brain? What kind of changes can we make to the body? What can we put into the body to influence the brain? And there's so much of an emotional, spiritual, neurochemical connection. It's more than a PhD dissertation topic. I mean, we could go on and on about this for days.
Well, one of the quotes, one of the points that I refer to a lot from a doctor that I follow on YouTube, Dr. John Bergman, was treating the adaptation of stress, which are the symptoms,
right,
without addressing the cause,
right,
adds further stress to the patient and causes further symptoms. So isn't that what we're seeing across the board with allopathic medicine at this point?
Yeah, we are. I mean, we're seeing that not just in allopathic medicine, but we're seeing that a lot in natural health also, that we're starting to see this big game of connect the dots and we're going to put instead of putting a steroid on the problem, we're going to put a green drink on the problem.
Yeah.
And to Candace's point, I mean, we're not doing enough to address the digestive tract. When I spoke earlier this morning, today's talk was more about what kind of things can I influence you to do for yourself, and less so what can I do for you in the clinic. And one of the things that I touch upon is, if you really want to be healthy, there has to be a spiritual component. There has to be a financial component. I mean, look at your 401k, look at your bank account balance. If that does that put you in a good mood or a bad mood? Is it painful? Is it painful to look at, or are you saying, yes, I can retire? I don't know. But you look at that number, whatever it is, and that's an influential factor in your health. And you find out that your net worth is so much less than you had hoped for or you had bargained for. All of a sudden, all those little aches and pains start to feel worse. Why is that? I mean, that's a neurological experience. So these are the things that we have to find way. I mean, unfortunately, we can't address all of those factors and all those components here at One Wellness Center, but we have to be very mindful of what's going on with people in their bigger picture, beyond the fact that their elbow hurts, or beyond the fact that they have a specific ache or pain somewhere in their body. That what are we doing using our tools to address their neurology, and what tools don't we possess that have to be called into play to help this person?
Yeah, and you bring up a lot of great points, and we use the analogy sometimes of trying to rebuild a house while it's still on fire. And that's the same thing with the body, and it's a great analogy because your body's inflamed, it's on fire. So we look at different reasons to fix the initial cause before adding on, Tylenol or whatever. It could be a green drink, it could be something healthy, but addressing the issues is the first thing we need to look at. If we look at cholesterol, Joe, you were just talking about that. Before we put someone on a statin medication for that may cause, issues with your muscles or further issues, side effects from drugs, known side effects, why don't we just look at what's causing your cholesterol to be high or elevated or whatever it is and address that, put you on some fish oil, some of the cholesterol focused products, cardiovascular support, looking at those, changing your lifestyle, stop going through the drive-through, pack your lunch, simple things like that that can maybe take some extra time, save you some money rather than, spending $10 every day on lunch. Pack your lunch ahead of time. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. It can be, maybe a little bit more time, but maybe better off financially. So you have to pick your battles and see what's going to work out best for you in the long run and go with that, and avoid going down that path of, the medical model where they're going to put you on a drug. And before you know, you're going to be on another drug and just diuretics and things like that. That's going to change your life. And, I know people who to have to take their medications at a certain time because they know they'll have to go to the, be in the restroom for a period of time, and it interferes with their work. And a lot of people don't get into that sort of situation until maybe they're older or retired. So it's just becomes part of their whole lifestyle. I know some older people that's their morning routine, working around their medications, because it affects their whole body so much. And, what we're really just focusing on is starting off on the right foot to begin with. And, Joe, you brought up all those things. We're all exposed to some things, many things, multiple things that we can't avoid. Toxins in our personal care products. We take a shower in the morning, we're using shampoo and body wash that has chemicals in it rather than just switching to a natural one. We're eating, could be going through grabbing a cereal bar on your way out, something like that. If you're not making these healthy decisions to begin with, that's where it all starts. And that's why we emphasize this so much. And some people say to me, oh, it's not going to kill you to do this, or, one little thing here and there, it all adds up. And that's why I stress this so much, because I'm healthy now. And if I lose that at one point, if something happens, it's going to take a lot more work than I already put in to get back to where I am now.
That's right. You can't let the downhill spiral begin. I mean, you have to be vigilant, and given the environment that we live in, you have to do your best to take care of yourself while you can. You're absolutely right that to your friends who I assume are approximately your age, who are using let's just say a different brand of personal care product. It's not just a different brand, it's a different paradigm. And you think about, you forecast into the future as to, you look at the patients who come into the Weiner Wellness Center. It's very clear that we have some people in their, let's say 40s and up, maybe 40s through 70s and even 40s through 80s, who've really done a very good job of taking care of themselves throughout the course of their lifetime. And you can see, like, when you talk to them, the lights are on in their eyes, and they're vibrant. They have a sense of vibrancy. And you can also see that they're people who are really early middle age, in their 30s, their 40s, and you can just talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes, maybe not even that long, and you can't really start to pick out all the things that are wrong with them or all their problems at that point. But that, let me get out my pad and paper because the list is about to begin. You're very young to be in this bad of a shape. And we all know how that happens. And that's really such an important part of all of our roles and careers and jobs and the positions we occupy. Is beyond anything else, we're educators, and we're swimming upstream against some big media, big Madison Avenue advertising dollars, big corporations, lots of federal money, companies that are publicly traded all around the world. And we have this, look, we got a great facility here at the Weiner Wellness Center, but the bottom line is, in terms of healthcare, we're a bunch of rinky dinks in a building in the corner somewhere. And so there's a difficulty in marketing what it is we do. In a large extent, our patients have to find us. And once they do, I mean, we have such a great product to offer, teaching, educating people how to take better care of themselves, really on a pretty tight budget, and to do it over the course of a lifetime. So I hope that,
Yeah.
I hope there are a lot of people tuning in. I hope this is one of those Zoom presentations that we put together that gets thousands of hits. I mean, we've really covered some important stuff here.
You know, Doc, it's so true. Like you mentioned about the marketing aspect and getting the word out. I've often said that we're up against the greatest marketing machine in the world, and that's the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
Because they market a product to people who can't buy it.
Right.
And they still make billions.
Ask your doctor if this is for you.
Yeah. Ask your doctor. Well, then what do you need your doctor for? Okay, don't get me started. What I wanted to say, though, was this momentum. We were talking about momentum this morning, and Jamie Dorley brought up a great point about it. Momentum can be positive or negative, right? So, you know, it's easy to stop a snowball at the top of the hill, but at the bottom of the hill, when that thing grows, it's not that easy. In fact, you're probably going to lose. The question is that a positive snowball rolling down the hill or a negative one? If it's negative, Doc, you've said many times, you know, how many patients come into the wellness center as a last resort instead of trying to be there all the time is as a part of their life.
Right. Well, I mean, this COVID experience has really thrown a monkey wrench into everything that I thought, because there are a lot of people who I thought, like, we got you. You're a natural health person now, and you're starting to think the way we teach. And I don't mean I got you like now you're kidnapped and you have to see the chiropractor 3 times a week forever. We got you like we might have shifted a few gears in that melon of yours, and now you're thinking a little bit more holistically and systemically. And they're all of a sudden they're worried about, I can't wait to get my COVID vaccine so I can get back to normal. And like, man, so if it weren't for COVID, I would have said that our snowball was starting to gain momentum. Our snowball was dangerously close to the size where it might run some small children over.
Yeah. Do you think maybe that was being recognized and there was an intervention?
Maybe. I don't believe anything anymore. Maybe. But when you think about what we've all collectively experienced around the world in the last 6-8 months, I don't know. I don't know where our snowball is anymore.
And I think there's 2 sides to it, just with anything. You know, we're looking at Weiner Wellness Week. We're virtual. I'm sitting in my office at home doing this. I'm not in front of the people that I'm usually in front of. I'm not doing Zyto scans. I'm not picking products off the shelf, helping people find some things. But we're here and we're reaching a lot more people. So there's, you know, one side that could be negative, looked at as negative. When one side that's a big bonus. And, you know, you mentioned that a lot of people were getting into natural health, and now all of a sudden they want a vaccine, and we're thinking, whoa, how are you going down that road? We thought we were educating you, and did you not listen to Judy on Saturday? But then we look at this, and I see a lot of people on social media, if I'm not talking to friends directly, but it's more of my acquaintances or old high school friends that are now parents that are a little bit more awake to all of this and what they're feeding their kids, what they're having to do medically with their kids. So we're seeing some more of this awareness. And what I find is that with all of the confusion and controversy, like, it's not very clear how many people actually had COVID, how many people died from COVID. And we're hearing that it's really not that many. And then there's some people out there that are on both sides of it, and that's okay. You might be more fearful or uninformed, and you might say it's killing thousands of people. We need a vaccine. But then there's a lot of people that's saying, wait, a lot of people aren't actually dying from COVID. Why are we pushing this vaccine? Why is it the #1 focus? And then they're starting to look at the patterns of it and what's being put into it. And they're saying, I'm not going to get the COVID vaccine, but they're normally getting their kids vaccinated for X, Y, and Z. And so they may start to question that. And I'm seeing a lot of that. And, you know, that's great for parents, young mothers, to be able to do research and educate. And I'll see on my you know, Instagram, for example, people placing polls where you can vote yes or no, or whatever it is, and people are asking, would you get your kids the COVID vaccine? Would you take it for yourself? And then, are you a parent? They want to know who's voting on all of this. They want to see, they just want to know more, which I think is really great. So this is bringing awareness to not only, health in general, but vaccines, which is a big concern for myself. And I know all of us in natural health, but it's really good to see that. So I think as negative as all of this is, there's still some benefits that people are waking up to or becoming more aware, just being exposed to, which I have to say is a good thing.
Well, you hit it on the head. There is a silver lining, always is. This is one of them. We're reaching out to more people than ever before.
Yeah.
But and Doc, a lot of times when I go for my adjustment with Doc, he puts me, not a lot of the time, almost all the time, he puts me at the end of the day. And I, first I thought that's because he wants to be able to spend as much time working on me as possible. Well, we get our 20, 30 minutes in, and then we have another hour of discussion after that on the topics, and we solve all the topics of the world during those discussions. But, I think that you and Doc, people fear what they don't understand, right? We've seen that all throughout life. Yeah. And I think that's what you were hitting on, Candace, is that the fear factor.
Yeah.
And that's being that flame is being fed every day. We should know more about this than we did 8 months ago. But as far as the general public's concerned, we don't. We might know a little more, but they don't.
And it's funny, some people still just are in between, and it reminds me a lot of people who would come into the wellness center and have had a problem for years, and they'd say, oh, I listened to the radio for 10 years, and Dr. Weiner would say, well, what took you so long to get here? And, I see it myself as I'm working with patients, actually, and I ask the questions, oh, how did you hear about it? Oh, I've been listening to the radio for 10 years. And you've never been here before, and you live right down the street in Pittsburgh. But, we'll see that with people seeing the statistics and the science on masks. Do they work? There's very low proof that they do work. You look at virologists and immunologists in these big hazmat suits, and then you look at me with a paper cloth or a tissue that I put gum bands around and wearing as a mask. Or like the one day I had to wear something, I got my dog's new bandanas and I had that around. Like, my dog wears this as an accessory, and you want me to fight off COVID with this? So I don't personally wear a mask. And I know a lot of people who agree with me. And Joe, I know you're bursting at the seams to say something, but I'll look at people, I always give my mom a hard time because she wants to do the right thing. And I'm like, Mom, take your mask off. She's itching in the store. We FaceTime the other day. She's in the store. I'm trying to tell her what she's picking me up a few things. She's got it around her neck. And the first thing I yell, and on FaceTime, it's always speakerphone. The first thing I said, I'm like, take your mask off. And I never looked around or heard it. And it's just, we're fighting for medical freedom. And that's part of why I'm so, insistent on it. Or Joe, I know, the medical exemption, which you bring up a lot. And some people may wear a mask, but some people, if we're educated on this, and Judy talked a lot about this, and it was very, very important information to know. That's why I practice the way I practice. That's why, I choose not to wear a mask in most areas. Dropped grandma off at her retirement home the other day, put one on, just, out of respect, because a lot of people at that age that are high risk or in fear, I didn't want to come off. It was more for the people I was with, family and all that. But if I'm going to the grocery store and then you have kids taking math class at home, for, my niece said she was done with school at 8:43 the other morning. What could you have learned between 7 and 9 a.m.? And she said, I'm not learning anything on days I don't go to school. So my these 13-year-olds, and they're spending more time on TikTok a day than they do actually on virtual learning. So but yet I can go into the grocery store and spend an hour and shop for myself, my mom, my sister. It's just looking at knowing more, being educated, and that's what we're talking about. So this is the whole slew of information that gets tied into it all.
Well, we kind of got a little off track talking about inflammation, but you know what? All of these things contribute to systemic inflammation.
Absolutely.
From the ones you can see to the ones you can't see, to what you can feel to what you can't feel. And, you know, I think that's why it's such a broad subject, but it needs to be talked about as much as possible. And I'm glad we did this, because this, every single time somebody views this, we have an impact every single time. And then that expands even further. So this was great. Doc, you want to kind of take us home?
Well, as always, it's been a pleasure speaking with you both. Joe, I think the world's coming up with new problems that we got to devote some quality time to solving.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'll look
Yep.
for you for an end of the day visit some point soon. Candace, my heart goes out to your niece. I hope she's getting something out of school. I have a young niece and nephew myself. It's we got to roll with it. We got to figure out what's going on and what we can do to make sure the sky is not falling. And we got to look after our own health. We got to present strategies to all the people who cross our paths looking for help. Sometimes we might even have to be a little obnoxious with the people closest to us and insist that they do this or they do that to take care of themselves. I don't advocate for being obnoxious with total strangers out in public. I mean, that never ends well, but certainly at the family dinner table. Keep studying, keep learning, keep passing on the knowledge.
Yeah, this is unmatched. This still, the Wellness Weeks are unmatched anywhere in the country. I've never seen it duplicated. We have such a unique thing here, and with these virtual, even if we do go back to live, they'll all be filmed and they'll all be virtual, and anybody can get them anytime. And you know, we're fighting the good fight. We're not going to stop, and we've got a whole week left to do this, so we're just getting warmed up.
Right.
Absolutely. And after this, we have Jamie Dorley coming up next to wrap up today, talking about vitamin C, which has been huge this year.
Right.
Not, you know, for everyone interested in it, but for Nutritional Frontiers in particular, you know, we had our chewables and our capsules, which you can find in most options for us, but we came out with an effervescent powder and a liposomal liquid. So this is really something unique, and to Nutritional Frontiers, we have 4 different delivery systems for this. So this is something you're not going to want to miss. Jamie Dorley is going to be speaking on it, and how he was able to get all of these products available for us during all of this with shutdowns and everything. So that's going to be a great presentation. But as always, guys, the roundtable is so much fun. It's just like we're out having lunch or in the back room during real wellness weeks, and our customers are all there, you know, looking for us. So thanks for being on with us, guys, and we'll have a roundtable again Wednesday. So if you enjoyed this, we'll be back with it.
Great.
See ya.
Guys.